Marcus adjusted his scarf against the biting wind, his mind locked on the billion-dollar deal ahead, until his gaze landed on a homeless boy huddled beside a man on the sidewalk. The child looked up, and Marcus froze. Same dimple, same sharp jawline, same piercing eyes. It was like staring at a younger version of himself. And what happened next shattered him in ways no business failure ever could. Stay with me, because this story will change the way you see fate, family, and the choices that define us. The winter wind whips between Manhattan's glass towers, sending discarded newspapers skittering across the sidewalk. Marcus Chen adjusts his Burberry scarf, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the frozen pavement. The quarterly board meeting starts in 20 minutes, and he can't afford any delays, not with his company's billion-dollar merger hanging in the balance. His Patek Philippe watch reads 8:40 a.m., perfect timing as always. Years of discipline have crafted his life into a precisely calibrated machine. Then he sees them. A man and the boy huddled in the alcove of a closed storefront, cardboard sign propped against a rusted shopping cart. The man's beard is grayed and matted, his coat more holes than fabric. But it's the boy who makes Marcus stop dead in his tracks, expensive briefcase slipping from his fingers. The child looks up, and Marcus forgets how to breathe. Those eyes, that face. It's like staring at a photograph of his own son, Tyler, taken on some forgotten street corner instead of at his Westchester private school. "Spare some change, sir?" the man asks, his voice rough from the cold. Marcus barely hears him. He's transfixed by the boy, who can't be more than 8 the same age as Tyler, the same narrow chin, the same slight dimple in the left cheek, even the same way of tilting his head slightly when curious. It's impossible, yet here it is, like looking through a warped mirror into another reality. "What's your name?" Marcus asks the boy, his voice barely a whisper. The man shifts, pulling the child closer. "Sorry, we don't—" "James," the boy answers, earning a sharp look from the man. "I'm James." Marcus's phone buzzes. The board meeting. His perfect schedule shattering like ice. I have to go," he stammers, fumbling in his pocket. He pulls out his wallet, hands shaking as he extracts several bills. "Here, take this." The man's eyes widen at what must be hundreds of dollars, but Marcus is already walking away, his measured stride now an uneven escape. His mind races with impossible questions. Behind him he hears the boy call out, "Thank you," in a voice that sounds so much like Tyler's it makes his chest ache. Marcus makes it halfway down the block before he has to stop, bracing himself against the cold stone of a building. His breath comes in ragged bursts, forming ghost-white clouds in the frigid air. That face, those eyes, it simply isn't possible, unless— A memory surfaces from 15 years ago. Sarah, the woman he'd left behind when his startup began taking off, the last voicemail he'd never returned. His phone buzzes again. The board meeting beckons. But for the first time in his meticulously planned life, Marcus Chen turns around. Some things matter more than mergers. Marcus's Italian leather shoes crunch against salt-covered sidewalk as he retraces his steps. His heart pounds with each footfall, thoughts racing faster than his feet. The boy's face haunts him, a ghost from the present echoing the past. The alcove is empty when he returns. Panic seizes his chest. His eyes scan the crowded street, searching for the shopping cart, the cardboard sign, any trace of the man and boy who've shattered his perfectly ordered world. There. A flash of movement down a side street. The rusted cart wobbles as the man pushes it through slush, the boy trailing close behind. "Wait!" Marcus calls out, his voice carrying over the morning traffic. The man freezes, his shoulders tense as he turns, positioning himself between Marcus and the boy. There's something familiar in that protective stance, something that tugs at Marcus's memory. "Look, we don't want any trouble," the man says, his voice firmer now. "We appreciate the money, but—" "Your sister," Marcus interrupts, the words tumbling out before he can stop them. "Was your sister's name Sarah?" The color drains from the man's weathered face. His grip tightens on the shopping cart handle until his knuckles turn white. "How do you know, Sarah?" he demands, eyes narrowing with sudden recognition. "Wait, Marcus?" The boy, James, peeks around his uncle's coat, curiosity overwhelming caution. Those eyes, Sarah's eyes, stare up at Marcus with innocent wonder. "Michael," Marcus breathes, finally placing the man's features beneath the beard and hardship. Sarah's younger brother, the kid who used to tag along on their dates, begging to play one more round of arcade games. His phone buzzes again. The board meeting. His empire waiting. Marcus silences it without looking. "What happened to you?" he asks, taking in Michael's ragged appearance. "What happened to Sarah?" Michael's laugh is bitter, cutting through the winter air like broken glass. "You really want to know? After 15 years of silence, you want to know now?" The boy tugs at Michael's coat. "Uncle Mike, do you know him?" Uncle Mike. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. This boy, this mirror image of his son Tyler, calls Michael uncle. Which means, "She tried to tell you," Michael says quietly, answering the question Marcus can't bring himself to ask. "She called you that last time because—" A car horn blares nearby, making them all jump. The spell breaks and Michael starts to turn away. "Please," Marcus says, his voice cracking. "I need to know. Let me help." Michael pauses, looking down at James, then back at Marcus. Years of hurt and hesitation wore across his face. Finally, he nods toward a diner across the street. "Buy us breakfast? James could use something hot." It's the smallest of openings, but it's enough. Marcus's empire can wait. Right now, in this moment, nothing matters more than following his brother-in-law and the nephew he never knew he had through the diner's steamy windows. Some debts, he realizes, can't be paid in dollars. The bell chimes as they enter Eddie's diner, warmth and the smell of coffee washing over them. A few early morning customers glance up, their eyes lingering on the strange trio, the impeccably dressed businessman and the homeless pair. "Anywhere you'd like," the waitress says, her smile professional but uncertain. Michael chooses a booth near the back, away from windows. James slides in first, then Michael, leaving Marcus to sit across from them. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, the resemblance between James and Tyler is even more striking. "Hot chocolate?" James asks hopefully, looking at his uncle. "Whatever you want," Marcus interjects before Michael can respond. "Both of you." The waitress appears with menus. Michael orders coffee, eggs, and toast. James gets hot chocolate with extra marshmallows and chocolate chip pancakes. Marcus just asks for coffee, his stomach too knotted for food. When the waitress leaves, silence descends. James occupies himself with the paper placemat and crayons, but the tension between the adults grows thick enough to cut. "Sarah died 6 months ago," Michael finally says, his voice low enough that James won't hear over his coloring. "Cancer. No insurance." The words hit Marcus like physical blows. 6 months. While he was closing his biggest deal yet, the woman he'd once loved was dying. "Why didn't anyone tell you?" Michael's laugh is hollow. "We tried. Your company, your assistants, your lawyers, they all said the same thing. Mr. Chen doesn't accept unsolicited contact." Marcus feels sick. He'd built those walls himself, protection against people trying to claim a piece of his success. How many other important messages had they blocked? "The medical bills wiped out everything," Michael continues. "I lost my job trying to care for her and James. Then the apartment, well." He gestures at his worn clothes. "Here we are." The waitress returns with their drinks. James beams at his hot chocolate mountain of marshmallows, oblivious to the weight of the conversation. "He doesn't know, does he?" Marcus asks quietly. Michael shakes his head. "Sarah never told him about you. Said it was better that way." He pauses, stirring his coffee. "She never told you either, did she? That last message?" "I was in Singapore, launching our Asian division." The excuse sounds hollow even to his ears. "When I got back, there were hundreds of messages. I never—" "Uncle Mike, look!" James interrupts, holding up his placemat. He's drawn what appears to be a superhero complete with cape. He can fly and make money appear to help people. Marcus's throat tightens. The boy's innocent words cut deeper than any accusation. Their food arrives, and James digs in enthusiastically. Watching him, Marcus sees shadows of Tyler at that age, the same way he cuts his pancakes into precise squares, the same look of concentration. "I have a son," Marcus says suddenly. "Tyler. He's James's age." Michael's fork pauses halfway to his mouth. Sarah knew. She saw the announcement in the business section when he was born. Another pause. "That's partly why she stopped trying to reach you." Marcus pulls out his phone, fingers trembling slightly as he brings up a photo of Tyler. He turns it toward Michael. The fork clatters to the plate. James looks up at the sound, syrup dripping from his chin. "What's wrong?" Michael stares at the photo, then at James, then back at the photo. The resemblance is undeniable. "They could be twins," he whispers. "James," Marcus says softly, "would you like to see something?" The boy nods, his mouth still full of pancakes. Marcus slides his phone across the table, the photo of Tyler glowing on the screen. James swallows hard, his eyes widening. "He looks just like me. Is he a movie star?" "No," Marcus says, his voice catching. "He's my son. Your—" He glances at Michael, who gives an almost imperceptible nod. "Your cousin." James looks between the adults, processing this new information. "I have a cousin?" His face lights up. "Uncle Mike, did you know?" Michael wraps an arm around his nephew's shoulders. "There's a lot we need to talk about, buddy. But yes, you have family you haven't met yet." Marcus watches the interaction, his chest tight. In one morning, his world has completely upended. The careful walls he built between his past and present have crumbled, leaving him exposed to truths he'd spent years avoiding. "I have a proposition," Marcus says, setting his untouched coffee aside. "My penthouse is a few blocks from here. It has spare rooms, a hot shower, clean clothes." He meets Michael's eyes. "Time to figure things out properly." Michael tenses. "We don't need charity." "It's not charity," Marcus cuts in. "It's penance, responsibility, whatever you want to call it." He leans forward. "Sarah was family. That makes you family. And I've failed you both long enough." James tugs at his uncle's sleeve. "Can we? Please? I want to meet my cousin." Michael looks down at his nephew, this boy who's lost so much, yet still maintains such hope. The same hope he'd seen in Sarah's eyes, even at the end. "There's something else you should know," Michael says quietly to Marcus. "About James." But before he can finish, James interrupts with childish excitement. "Look! It's snowing!" All three turn to watch fat snowflakes swirling past the diner windows. The sight reminds Marcus of another snowy morning, 15 years ago, when Sarah had tried to tell him something important over voicemail. A message he'd never returned. "He's mine, isn't he?" Marcus whispers, though he already knows the answer. Michael meets his gaze steadily. "Sarah found out just after you left. She tried to tell you, but—" He shrugs. "You were already gone, climbing that corporate ladder. She decided it was better this way." The weight of those lost years crashes down on Marcus. All the birthdays, first steps, school plays, moments he can never get back. Just like he can never get back the chance to say goodbye to Sarah. His phone buzzes again. The board meeting is long over, his carefully orchestrated merger probably in shambles. Marcus realizes he doesn't care. "James," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "There's something important I need to tell you, about your mother, and about me." The words catch in Marcus's throat as James looks at him with those familiar eyes. Sarah's eyes. How do you tell a child that you're the father who never knew he existed, that you're the reason his mother faced her hardest battles alone? "Your mom," Marcus begins, his voice barely above a whisper, "was the most amazing woman I've ever known." James leans forward, hungry for information about his mother. "She used to sing to me," he offers. Even in the hospital. Marcus's hands clench under the table. She loved music. Used to say she could sing away any problem. He swallows hard. James, a long time ago, before you were born, your mother and I. The diner door chimes and a gust of cold air sweeps through the restaurant. A woman in a sharp business suit strides toward their booth, her heels clicking purposefully against the linoleum. Marcus, she says, slightly out of breath. The board is in chaos. The merger. Cancel it, Marcus interrupts, not taking his eyes off James. Cancel? But the shareholders? Jennifer. He turns to his assistant, his voice firm. Clear my schedule, all of it. Some things matter more than money. Jennifer's mouth opens, then closes. In 15 years, she's never seen her boss like this. She looks at the homeless man and boy, clearly confused. This is Michael, Marcus says. And this? His voice softens. This is James, my son. The words hang in the air. James's crayon drops to the table with a tiny clatter. You're... What? James whispers. Michael shifts closer to his nephew, protective but not interfering. This moment belongs to father and son. I'm your father, James, Marcus says, tears pricking at his eyes. And I know I don't deserve it, but I'd like a chance to be part of your life. Both of your lives, he adds, looking at Michael. James sits very still, processing. Then, in a small voice that breaks Marcus's heart, he asks, Why weren't you there? When Mom was sick? The question cuts deeper than any business negotiation, any board meeting, any million-dollar deal. Marcus forces himself to hold his son's gaze. Because I made the biggest mistake of my life, he answers honestly. I chose success over love, over family, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make that right, if you'll let me. The silence that follows feels endless. James looks down at his half-eaten pancakes, then at his uncle, seeking guidance in a world suddenly turned upside down. Michael squeezes his nephew's shoulder. It's okay, buddy. Whatever you're feeling right now is okay. Did Mom... James hesitates, his voice small. Did Mom hate him? Michael shakes his head. No, James. Your mother never hated him. She used to say that sometimes good people make bad choices, but that doesn't make them bad people. Tears spill down Marcus's cheeks, unchecked. Sarah's wisdom, her capacity for forgiveness, it's like she's there in the diner with them, helping bridge this impossible gap. James turns to Marcus, his chin lifted in a gesture so reminiscent of Sarah it takes Marcus's breath away. Tyler, my cousin. Is he really my brother? Yes, Marcus whispers, and he's always wanted a brother. Where does he live? In a big house in Westchester, with a backyard and... Marcus pauses, suddenly ashamed of the privilege that Tyler enjoys while James has been struggling on the streets. But James's eyes light up with something like hope. Does he like superhero movies? A laugh escapes Marcus, wet with tears. He's obsessed with them, has every Marvel movie memorized. Me too, James says, then catches himself, glancing at his uncle. I mean, when we could watch them at the library. Jennifer, still standing at the booth, discreetly wipes her eyes. Should I call ahead to the penthouse? Have the guest rooms prepared? Michael starts to protest, but Marcus cuts him off. Not the penthouse. Have Roberts ready the Westchester house. He looks at Michael. If that's okay. There's more space there, a better school district. You can't just uproot our lives, Michael says, but his resistance sounds weaker. Uncle Mike, James tugs at his sleeve. Can we at least see it? Please? Marcus pulls out his phone, brings up a photo of the house, the sprawling lawn, the basketball court, the pool. But as James's eyes widen with wonder, Marcus realizes something important. But first, he says, putting the phone away, we're going shopping. New clothes, whatever you need. Then, maybe... He glances at James, hopefully. We could stop by the comic book store? I hear there's a new Spider-Man issue out. Really? James breathes, then catches himself again, looking at his uncle. Michael runs a hand through his beard. looking between his nephew's hopeful face and Marcus's pleading one. "On one condition," he finally says. "Anything," Marcus responds immediately. "We do this slow. No rushing in. James has been through enough changes this year." Marcus nods solemnly. "Of course. Whatever's best for him. And," Michael continues, "you tell Tyler first. Prepare him. This isn't just about us." "I will," Marcus promises. "Tonight. But right now." He looks at his son, and feels his heart might burst. "Right now, I'd like to hear about your favorite superhero." As James launches into an enthusiastic explanation of why Spider-Man is clearly the best, Marcus catches Michael's eye. A silent understanding passes between them. They can't change the past, but maybe, just maybe, they can build something new from its ashes. Jennifer quietly steps away to make the arrangements, leaving the newly discovered family to their breakfast and their beginning. 2 weeks later. Snow blankets the Westchester lawn, pristine and glittering in the morning sun. Through the kitchen window, Marcus watches James and Tyler chasing each other, their laughter carrying through the glass. They're wearing matching winter coats. James had insisted, and Tyler had been thrilled at the idea. "Still feels like a dream sometimes, doesn't it?" Michael says, joining him at the window. He looks different now, clean-shaven, wearing new clothes, some of the hardness gone from his face. "Every morning," Marcus admits. "I keep thinking I'll wake up back in my old life." In the yard, Tyler shows James how to make the perfect snowball. They're inseparable already, as if their hearts knew they were brothers before their minds did. The initial meeting had been easier than anyone expected. Tyler's first words upon seeing James were, "Cool, it's like having a twin." Marcus's phone buzzes, another message from the board about his sudden family sabbatical. He silences it without looking. "Sarah would be proud," Michael says quietly, "of all of us, even you." Marcus turns to him, surprised. "You think so?" "She always said people deserve second chances. That's why she kept your photo, why she told James stories about a man who loved her once, who just lost his way." Outside, the boys are now working together to build a snowman. Tyler places his own scarf around its neck while James carefully positions the carrot nose. "I found an oncology center," Marcus says, his voice thick. "They're doing amazing work with early detection programs for low-income patients. I'm thinking of setting up a foundation in Sarah's name." Michael nods approvingly. "She'd like that. Using success to help others. That's the kind of legacy she believed in." The back door bursts open, letting in a blast of cold air and 2 snow-covered boys. "Dad," they call out simultaneously, then look at each other and giggle. "Come see our snowman," James exclaims. "We named him Fred. After Uncle Mike's middle name," Tyler adds proudly. Marcus meets Michael's eyes, seeing his own gratitude reflected there. Then they both let themselves be pulled outside by eager hands and pure joy. As Marcus helps adjust Fred's crooked carrot nose, he realizes something profound. He'd spent years building an empire of wealth, but only now, surrounded by snowflakes and laughter, by second chances and healing hearts, does he truly feel rich? Some treasures, after all, can't be measured in dollars. And some families are built not by blood alone, but by the courage to begin again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of what truly matters in life. Let us know in the comments, what would you do if you discovered a family you never knew you had?